Good morning. This is RCB News, and I am Ryan Boland. I want to get right down to the news at hand. I'm going to be reading an article from Anthony Brown Logan's YouTube channel in reference to the rap artist Meek Mill and his accusing a airline stewardess, I believe, of smoking weed on the plane. So I'm going to read that article. It's a short article. I'm going to read that article, and then I'm going to give you my opinion and my take on this whole situation. And the title of the article is Rapper Meek Mill Accuses Private Jet Crew of Racism Over Weed Smoke. Rapper Meek Mill accused a crew member of a private jet of racism over a question about the smell of weed smoke. In a non-viral video, and I watched this video, but I'm going to go into that a little later. In a now viral video, the well-known rapper recorded himself speaking to the aforementioned crew member. The conversation apparently picks up right after the man asked Meek Mill if anyone who just got on board was smoking weed. Meek Mill was furious over the question and ultimately accused the person of racism. The video ended with the crew member opening the hatch of the airplane to let the rapper and crew off per the rapper's request. This situation was obviously not an episode of racism. Anyone who heard the general synopsis of what happened on the plane would immediately understand why the crew member asked about weed. If a bunch of guys board a plane and an overwhelming smell of weed smoke follows, it is only logical to ask them if they are currently smoking or if they have been just done smoking, especially on a private plane where there is no TSA involved. Passengers of private planes are often driven directly to the plane by a vehicle. Other people, especially rappers, have boarded private planes with drugs. It would not be surprising if some of them tried to use their drugs while the plane was in the air. And it is very dangerous for a person to smoke weed on a plane. The last thing anyone wants is an impaired pilot who got a secondhand high. And I'm going to end that article right there. And you can read the rest of that article in the description box below. But I want to say first and foremost, right off the bat, that I have never listened to Meek Mill's music. I'm not a fan of modern rap music. I was never a big hip hop fan anyway. But no offense to hip hop fans, but I never was into hip hop. So I don't know anything about this man's music. I don't know anything about his style or any of that, okay? But I did watch the video. And if you go to the description box you can watch it yourself. And I did watch the video, and what I want to speak about is the bad example that he's setting for millions of young people that watch him. He's a consenting adult. You know, you can smoke whatever you want to smoke. You can do whatever you want to do. But it's the young people that you are influencing. And besides, to make this, as Anthony Brown Logan, I got to say something about that as well. To make this a racial issue, just listen to the video. To make it a racial issue is ridiculous. Everything is a racial issue. Everything and this bothers me about black people in general, not all of them, but this bothers me about black people in general. This is one of the things I believe that keeps us divided. And this is one of the things that the Marxists, as I often talk about, use to keep us divided. Every time someone white approaches a black person, whether it's a celebrity or a pedestrian in the streets, and a white police officer approaches them and asks them questions or pull them over, whatever, it's always racially motivated. And this type of stuff, from their perspective, and this type of stuff is stirred up or is kept stirred up by the mainstream media and leftist Marxist politicians. And it needs to stop. People need to be made aware of what is going on, as far as I'm concerned. But going back to this young man, this young rapper, my problem is the influence that he has on millions of young people. Young people's minds are very impressionable. They're very impressionable. And when they see and hear this kind of activity and actions from their celebrity idols that they basically worship, what do young people usually do? They usually imitate what they see these celebrities and these musicians do. Now, this is not saying necessarily, I'm not necessarily saying that Meek Mill and his attitude towards this individual on this plane will cause young people to start smoking weed, because for the most part, a lot of them do. But what I'm trying to say is that the influence that they have on a lot of these young people's minds is incredible. And young people that see this, if any young people sees this video, they're going to probably more than likely is going to get into their subconscious, and they're going to start acting out what they see. Their minds are very impressionable, especially if they're not getting any real good, strong upbringing in their homes. If they're not getting any real good, strong upbringing in their homes, children tend to imitate what they see and hear. And that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about. But I want to go back to the racism situation. Once again, you're keeping the racism bubble going. Eventually, that racism bubble is going to burst. And in many instances, it already has burst in certain situations, because what I'm discovering more and more now is that more and more people are starting to see this fake racism. Everything is a racial issue. People are starting to see, man, look, come on, black and white, starting to see, man, come on, this is not racial. Why are you making it a racial issue? Why do you keep making it a racial issue? But I believe what's going to eventually happen, and this is my opinion based on my studies, is that eventually this is going to, if we don't wake up in America, eventually this is going to lead to a civil war. This has been talked about a lot, but it's going to lead to a civil war on several fronts. Racial and class wars. And what I mean by class wars, I mean the rich and the poor. And it's going to also be a war against police officers and civilians. If people don't wake up to the Marxist attack in this country by politicians, movies, sitcoms, music, all of this type of stuff that's pushing this ideology, and this ideology is being absorbed subconsciously. If people don't wake up to this, they're going to begin to act this out, and eventually it's going to lead to another civil war. It's time for Americans to wake up. And this young man, Meek Mill, needs to understand that his actions are uncalled for. I listened to this video and I'm like, well, why is he saying it's racial, man? It's just racist. You sounding real. I don't want to give away too much of it. You'll see the video for yourself. But to say something like, man, you being racist right now. I feel you being really racist right now is totally uncalled for. If that had been in any other situation, it wouldn't. How could you even call it a racist situation? Where I work at right now, I work as a security, and I say this all the time, but I like to give examples in my own place of work. As a bike patrolman at Tower City in downtown Cleveland, one of the things that we have to do is we have to do a patrol of not only the outside of of Tower City, but we also have to do a patrol of the parking garage. There's 3 levels. P1, which is parking garage level 1, P2, level 2, and then you have P3. They don't call it P3, but I'm calling it P3. And on the P3 level, there's a valet section that leads to the inside of the mall. There's a bench on the opposite side of the entry door. On that bench, certain workers from the MK Ferguson Plaza, which used to be the old post office, come out and they smoke. Now, these are business people. These are people who are working in the corporate setting. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is the fact that on more than several occasions, when me and my partner would be doing our tours on that level, we would smell strong weed, reefer, weed, wet, whatever you want to call it, weed, whatever you want to call it. We would smell it and it would be so strong that we would have to literally report it. When we get on the radio, bike 1 or bike 2 to TSOP or the dispatch, because you send a post officer down there, we have a strong smell of weed. And we wouldn't say that in front of the people sitting on the bench, obviously. We would wait till we go inside to make the call. But you know what they would say? One officer said, wow, oh man, give me some. You give me some. Me and my partner kind of chuckled. But because there's no law that really in the city of Cleveland that really addresses that situation, it's just a slap on the wrist. Big deal, no big deal. See, this is the kind of attitude. Now, if it had been a white person that approached them and said, "Hey man, you guys smoking this weed, you smell like weed here. You can't be doing it," they would have made it a racial issue. Everything is a racial issue, and all this is doing is stirring up more and more tension. And we have to come to a point where we can realize and recognize that everything isn't racial. You have white people that are afraid to address blacks on certain issues because they don't want to be accused of being racist. And you have black people that walk around with a chip on their shoulder all the time because the media and politicians and Marxist professors and Marxist producers of films and so forth are pushing this racial situation. It's all, in my opinion, an elaborate plan to conquer and divide this country. But the more we become aware of it, the more we can fight it. The more we become aware of the Marxist push to divide us and destroy us, the more we can fight it. So I just wanted to give my spin on this situation with the rapper Meek Mill. He's a grown man. He can do whatever he wants to do. That's not what I'm talking about. What I wanted to deal with the fact is that you're making it a racial issue and you having a negative influence on millions of young people that watch you and listen to your music. I never listened to any of his music, so I don't know. I can't make no judgment on his music. Okay. But his attitude is totally uncalled for. And I hope that he sees this and makes an open apology. I highly doubt it, but I hope he sees this and makes an open apology to his millions and millions of legions of fans. But I just wanted to say that about that. What do you guys think about this? You know, what do you think? What do you think his response should have been? Should he have made it a racial issue or what? I mean, what do you think it was a racial issue? Give your comments in the comment box below. Do you think that his response would have a negative effect on the millions of young people that listen to his music? Give your response in the comment box below. If you like this video, press the like button, share this video, and subscribe. Thank you all, and see you again on RCB News.